Hello, my name is Cheryl Clarke. I'm the Superintendent of the Monson Public Schools, and I'd like to welcome you to Clarke's Corner. Clarke's Corner is a monthly program that is broadcast here on M-PACT that highlights all of the wonderful things that are happening in our Monson schools. This month we are featuring Quarry Hill Community School, and I have staff and students with me today to talk about 3 programs that are happening there right now, the first of which is the 3 Bs. And I would ask my guests to go down the line and introduce themselves and tell me their grade.
I'm Andrew Hurst, and I'm in 4th grade.
I'm Logan Fontaine, and I'm in 4th grade.
I'm Miss Augusto. I'm the assistant principal.
I'm Dowd, and I'm in 4th grade.
I'm Tyler Lloyd, and I'm in 4th grade.
Okay, great, welcome. Well, you are all here to talk about the 3 Bs, and it's the letter B and the little bees, right? The insects too? Mm-hmm. Okay, so how were you introduced to the 3 Bs this year? Who wants to answer that? Logan?
We were introduced, we had a big celebration. We talked about them, we had teachers running around in costumes with holding up the 3 Bs, and we played music, and we played 2 songs. We did Forever Learning and Responsible. And we had music, and we kind of threw a celebration to start off the year, and
kind of a kickoff, yeah. Right? And I did actually. I attended that, and there were teachers dressed in bee costumes. They were very good sports to do that, right? So it kind of got everybody excited about the program.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what are the 3 Bs, and how do you make them a part of your day, Caitlin?
The 3 Bs are be respectful, be responsible, and be a scholar. And their part of school day, because some people don't even know it, but like when you're a scholar, you're really trying your best in school, and when you're respectful, you're helping the staff and your friends with troubling things or just really anything that they need. And being responsible is like taking actions and what you've done, and like being responsible if the teacher asks you to do something, you'll do it.
Excellent. That's very well explained. Thank you. So how and when did you first learn about the 3 Bs, Andrew?
I first learned about the 3 Bs when I was in kindergarten, and
way back when you were little.
Yeah, when I was little. And I was in kindergarten, and they basically told us about it, and they said all you basically have to do is follow the 3 Bs, and you'll basically be fine for the rest of the school year.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked fine.
Oh, and you all seem very responsible and scholarly, so it seems to be working, yes. Would you agree with that, Ms. Augusto?
I absolutely would agree with that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Great. What are some examples of being responsible in school? Tyler, would you like to add
Some examples of being responsible in school is we have Atlantic salmon in our class that we have to take care of. And most people have jobs like to take care of the salmon and to take the rocks out when they grow. And we also have fish for them. We also have shrimp for them. So people need to check on the shrimp, and they need to check on the fish. So it's their job.
Right.
It's their responsibility to check the fish.
And that's a big responsibility, because how many salmon do you have, do you know?
200.
200 salmon. And you're feeding them little shrimp? And how big are they right now, just as an aside?
They're like that big.
And how big do they get? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're releasing them when they're about that big.
Oh, okay. So that's being responsible and helps them to grow. And awesome. Okay. What about respectful? Respectful.
Some examples of being respectful are just holding the door open to make somebody's day, smiling when you're walking around, make somebody happy if they're feeling down.
So it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something very simple, right? It's just opening a door for someone. Any other examples you can think of?
You can say please and thank you.
Please and thank you.
Like little things, they don't have to be huge. They can just be small things. They don't have to be the biggest thing.
Little things make a difference, right?
Yeah. Little things can make a difference.
Right. And so do you all do those things?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Great. What about a scholar? Caitlin, what does it mean to be a scholar?
Well,
we talked a little bit about it earlier, but kind of tell us some more.
Sometimes people say that being a scholar is when you're like a straight A student and you know everything, but the real definition of scholar, I think, is that you're really trying your best and you're working hard in school, and that you're kind of like treating school like responsibly and respectfully and just taking it seriously.
Awesome. So trying your hardest and doing your best. Wonderful. How are the traits, the 3B traits, connected to one another?
Well, they're all connected because they're all very good. I think they're very good ideas. I think it's really good to have those ideas.
Everybody should follow the 3Bs, right?
If they were just to say respectful, responsible, and be courteous, and they didn't do all the stuff that they do, it might not be as fun as it is when they do all this celebration. They enhance it and say the 3Bs, and they do all this cool stuff with it, and then make it very fun. So they're all really important, and if you follow all 3 of them, you're going to be very successful and going on.
Awesome. Excellent. Very well said. Very well said. So, Andrew, why are they important?
The 3Bs are basically important because they keep the school a better place, and some kids feel safer when the school is a better place, and it kind of scares off bullying sometimes.
We'll be talking about bullying next, so that's great.
So kids kind of feel better about going to school because there's no bullying going on. So kids kind of want to go to school. So it's encouraging them to go to school because there's no bullying.
Right. They feel safe, and they know that they'll be respected by their fellow students and
fellow classmates.
Right. And do you tell your family about this? Does your family know about this? And they're following the 3Bs too? Yes?
Maybe.
Maybe. Your big brother? Maybe sometimes? Yeah. Okay. So outside of school, the 3Bs are good traits to live by?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So now, Ms. Augusto, when we talked about kind of incorporating it into the school day, my office is in Quarry Hill, so I hear your morning announcements.
Yes.
And can you just talk a little bit about that, I know you make announcements that relate to the 3Bs.
Every morning, or at least we try every morning, to make an announcement and say good morning. And we have words of the week, so we pick words that focus on character development. We've kind of shifted a little bit and gone down the academic road. And it's just a brief way to remind students to follow the 3Bs, to be responsible, be respectful, and be a scholar. And also to acknowledge students who are following the 3Bs, so we have a positive referral system.
And how does that work?
So teachers submit students' names that they find are following the 3Bs, and they submit them to me, and on Friday morning, or also Monday morning, sometimes I'll get them early Monday morning, I'll read the names aloud through the speaker, excuse me, just to acknowledge the students who are following the 3Bs. I think it's a good way for students to be reminded to follow the 3Bs and also to know that their classmates are following them.
Well, I think these 4 could be announced tomorrow, maybe, for being so responsible. I have to say. Do any of your friends ever make the overhead announcement in the morning, or family members, or
Sometimes it's confusing because there's 2 Caitlyns. It's just first names.
So we're working on that. We're going to start reading the last names. We're trying to be respectful of time, and but I think I agree with you. We need to start reading the last names.
Right. So if I'm a new student and I'm coming to Quarry Hill and I walk in, and what advice would you give me for following the 3Bs? Why don't we kind of go down and how could I be a better person and kind of get into to what you're doing at Quarry Hill? Do you have any ideas?
I think when you're a new student coming to Quarry Hill, I think kids will be good and try to help you, like get you acknowledged into the 3Bs.
Do you talk about the 3Bs in class at all?
Sometimes.
Sometimes you do? Okay, so I might find out from class.
Yep, and most kids, when they come in, most kids will tell them about it. Most kids will say, you'll learn about the 3Bs, and you just have to follow the 3Bs, and you'll be a successful student and in life.
Wow, you can't go wrong with that, right? Simple, but very effective, right? Okay.
Well, if you were a new student, I would tell you that you should follow them because it'll make you easier to go through them. Because if you're working hard and doing what you're going to be doing well, you're not going to be doing terrible if you're working hard.
That's right. Put your best effort.
If you're putting effort in, you're not going to get bad grades. You're going to have good grades. And we do Bs, and those usually work as some people do tickets, but we do Bs. And
what do you mean you do Bs?
We do Bs. They're kind of like little things that you get if you're being one of the 3Bs, and you can, if you get a certain amount, you can trade them in for like a prize, like if it's eating lunch with a teacher, or you wear a hat for a day, or chew gum.
That's a great idea. And so you've collected, I'm sure, many of those.
Yeah.
Right, I bet you have, Logan. Thank you. Great. And Caitlin, how about you?
Well, if you were a new student coming in, I'd kind of like, you know, say something like, follow the 3Bs and kind of like do your best in class. And like if you treat friends and staff like really respectfully, you'll probably be on their good side. And
that's a good thing.
Yeah. And also just kind of like find one friend and kind of like stick with them, because they'll probably help guide you. And then once you make that one special friend, you can probably go and make more new friends.
That's great advice. Thank you. Thank you. And Tyler?
Well, my advice would be to kind of, if you make a friend, and they would support you on the way. And also, if you follow the 3Bs, you would be on a teacher's good side.
That's right. And you'd be on television maybe with Mrs. Clarke.
And also, I would say that if you were, well, a scholar, which pretty much is the most important one out of there, and if you were a scholar, you don't have to, like, it's not about the grades, it's about how much effort you put into the...
Great, thank you. Well, I have to say thank you all for being so responsible and respectful and scholarly. I'm very impressed with all of you, and I thank you for explaining this great program, and I look forward to hearing your name on the announcements. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Up next, we will be talking about the other end of the spectrum, which is bullying. Next, we will be talking about bullying and what bullying is, and we have some guests for us to talk about that today. And I'd again ask them to introduce themselves. Ms. Augusto?
I am Ms. Augusto, the assistant principal.
I'm Wherry.
What grade are you in, Drew?
4th grade.
Okay.
I'm Alyson Linkenhoker, and I'm also in 4th grade.
And I'm Jennifer Beaudry, the principal.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to be asking you some questions, and I know you have something to show us too, Drew. So, first of all, Allie, what is the golden rule?
Well, the golden rule is treat others the way you want to be treated, and that basically means that if you see bullying happening, you don't want to be that bully, because if you are that bully, then you wouldn't want people to do that to you. And you should put yourself in the other person's shoes. Like, I wouldn't want them to do this to me, so I really shouldn't do it to them.
Excellent. Excellent. So what does the word bullying mean?
The word bullying means basically a repeated series of actions that are hurtful to pretty much anyone.
Okay. So and it's repeated, right? So if you just say something mean to
Which
me,
is
not nice, but...
Yeah, it's not nice, but it's not qualified as bullying because it's not repeated. They just said it to you once.
Okay. Okay, I understand. That's a good clarification. Thank you. So what should you do if you see bullying happening?
If you see it happening, you want to be that person that will go tell someone who can help. You don't want to tell someone that will gossip, because that won't help at all. You need to tell someone who can help and stop the bullying.
So who would that be? What would you have some suggestions?
Well, that would be like an adult in the area that you're in, like the closest adult to you.
Right.
And if you're able to, go right up to the bully and stick up for that person. Even if you're not best friends with that person, it's still right to tell them that they shouldn't be bullying.
Excellent. So you should tell, Drew, an adult or...
Yes, like a closest adult that's... And if you can, if the bully doesn't threaten you when they walk up to you, if they do threaten you, you should just like back away and go tell someone.
Right.
And if they don't, just stand up for the person and still go tell someone.
Right. And it's a great idea to just tell the closest adult or somebody you feel comfortable with. It doesn't necessarily have to be the principal or the assistant principal or teacher, just an adult that's around, so you can get right to the problem. Great. So we talked about you mentioned the word bystander, I think, Allie. So what is a bystander?
A bystander is that person who stands off to the side and doesn't do anything even if they see bullying. And some people who are bystanders think that if they're not the person being bullied, then they're preventing bullying, but that's not happening because they're doing nothing about it, and the person who is the bully keeps doing it over and over again, and you're doing nothing about it.
Right, it's almost as bad as being the bully. If there's a whole crowd of kids that are standing around watching it happen and not doing anything, it can be very powerful to step in and stop. If you're in a group, to stop the bully. So that's not nice what you're doing, right? So that's a good point. So, Drew, you said it was repeated and over time. Can you give me some examples? It doesn't have to be like a fight or anything, right? It can be something else, something...
It can be just... An example is cyberbullying,
Oh,
where
that's a big
someone
one,
sends
right.
text about even emails, texts, FaceTime, Facebook, anything that can show someone that they really have something against someone. And say someone was bullying someone and they went online and texted their best friend,
right,
or even their mortal enemy, hey, don't play with this person, they aren't cool enough, or this person is really fat and ugly.
Right,
you shouldn't
right.
hang out with them.
So they send that to somebody, and then that person might send it to someone.
Send it to someone, and that person would send it to someone, and it might actually get around the whole town.
Because I think some kids don't realize how quickly something can spread, right? With cyberbullying and Facebook and. It's hard to monitor. They think once they put it out there, no one's going to see it, but everybody can see it.
The website that they're going on, it has promised private messages. That person still has it.
That's right, forever. Right. That's a very good point.
Even if you delete the message, that person will still have it. And even if they delete the message, you'll still have it.
That's right. That's excellent. Excellent way to explain it. So have either of you ever seen anybody being bullied?
Yes.
Yes.
It's actually really sad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
I pretty much told my teacher, and then it was handled.
Okay, good. And what did you do, Allie?
Well, I saw it was one of my really good friends who was being bullied, so I went up to that bully and I told them that this was one of my really good friends and they shouldn't be bullying, even if it is one of my really good friends. They shouldn't be bullying at all. And then the bully just kept doing it because sometimes bullies will do that. They don't even listen to you. Right. So I went up to one of the, it was at recess one year, and I went up to the closest adult and I told that this person was bullying one of my good friends, and the person handled it and it didn't happen again.
Excellent. So you both took a different tactic, but both great. You took the bystander taking action route, and you went and told an adult. Perfect. Excellent. So, Mrs. Beaudry, we just heard about the 3 Bs, and that's a wonderful program.
It is.
So, do you think that program has impacted the amount of bullying or the bullying that may happen at your school?
I think it really has. Initially, we saw a spike in reporting, and I think anybody who wasn't aware of initiatives that we had in place before versus this one would say, oh my goodness, there's more bullying happening, and that's not the case. What we had is more reporting because people felt comfortable knowing the 3 Bs, talking about that, and then educating them. They're more aware. So I think it has made a huge difference for us, and we had feedback even today about how a lot of the kids have never witnessed it, and there's definitely a decrease.
That is great. And so that you see a lot of the students who may not make the wisest choices.
Right,
so that impacts you as well. So you would say that's a decline?
I would definitely say there's been a decline in it.
Yeah. Excellent. So you made a bullying poster. I guess tell me about the assignment.
The assignment was to make a poster that would show what to do if you ever saw bullying or how to handle bullying.
Okay.
And so
this was assigned in your class?
Yes, this was assigned in
the whole grade?
special
Okay.
for the entire 4th grade. And our character ed teacher, Miss L, assigned us that to make a poster that showed what you should do if you were ever witnessing bullying.
Okay, so Miss L is your guidance counselor.
She's our guidance counselor.
Right? She was in the first episode of Clarke's Corner.
She was.
And so she worked with the art teacher? Or?
She works independently with all of our 4th grade students. She teaches character education as a special daily to each one of the 4th grade classes.
Excellent. So this is what you did in this class. And Allie, you made one too?
Yes.
Okay. And so can you tell us about this?
So right here I have another example of a bystander. So this is, in this scene, these 2 girls are bullies. And she has just pushed down this little kid who's just trying to enjoy being outside, probably at recess. And she's telling the bully to stop, but the bully isn't stopping, and she's laughing at her. And then the other bully, who is probably friends with that bully, is saying good job to the bully, which really isn't that good.
No.
And then you see the bystander over here, the bystander taking action, and she's saying that she's going to go tell a grown-up. And she's following that little saying that right there, don't just watch, tell a grown-up. Because you really shouldn't just stand there and watch someone be bullied. Right.
And I like that little saying there too, bullies beware, kids care.
Because they do care.
They do care, right. And that sometimes can be, you have to be brave to be a bystander that stops it or says something, right?
Like, you can see these bullies and you'll just be so scared to go up to them, but you want to help that kid so badly. And then you just have to find the courage to actually go up to the bully who looks really mean, but you still have to go up to them and say that that's not okay.
And if more kids did this, you wouldn't even have to talk about bullying anymore, right? So you think that it has made it, would you agree with Mrs. Augusto and Mrs. Beaudry that it has made a difference?
Yes.
Allie, would you agree too?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So everyone's watching at home, and what would you say there's a student that is watching that is being bullied or has seen bullying, what advice would you give them if they are in that situation?
Well, my advice would be that if you are that person who takes charge, then you're doing fine. Like, that's what you should be doing. But if you are that bystander, you should go be that person who will stand up to the bully or tell that adult to stop the bullying. And eventually, if we keep doing that, we can stop bullying forever.
I agree, yes.
Which would be great.
Which would be great, yes, true. And would you have anything to add to that?
I agree completely with Allie. Although I do think that if you do see something happening, try to stand up to the bully and then go and tell. And again, if they're threatening you, just back off, because that's really bad.
That's right. That can be dangerous.
We want to talk about being safe as well,
right,
too.
Being safe. Yes. Excellent. That's a good point. Yep.
You don't want to go up to them, and if they're threatening, just stay there and threaten them back, because that's not going to help at all.
Well,
it can hurt you bad.
Right. Well, you two are great, courageous girls, very brave. I'm sure you're great friends. Right, to your friends. And I thank you for explaining all this to me today. Do we have anything we want to add, ladies? Anyone on the panel? No? No? Well, thank you so much for joining me. And next up, we will be talking about button stories. Okay, next we will be hearing about button stories, and we have some students and staff again to join us to talk about that. And I will ask my guests to go down the line and introduce themselves.
I am Brady Day. 4th grade.
I'm Madeline Ladew, and I'm in 4th grade.
And I'm Pam Ellis, their 4th grade teacher.
I'm Margaret Menard, and I'm in 4th grade as well.
Mrs. Beaudry, principal.
All right, thank you for being here, everybody. So I want to hear all about these button stories. Your class read a book, right, called Dear Levi, Letters from the Overland Trail by Elvira Woodruff. So, Brady, can you tell me a little bit about this book?
Well, the book's about a 12-year-old boy named Austin, and he's traveling on the Overland Trail to go to Oregon to claim his pa's claim, and he writes letters on the way to talk about the friends he meets and the tragedies.
So his adventures along the way, and is that he writes to his brother?
Yes.
And his brother's name is Levi? So thus the title, right? Dear Levi. Okay, great. All right. So I still haven't heard the button connection, Margaret. So can you describe the event in the story that led to the activity that you did in writing class?
Well, the event that led to the writing activity we did was when a character, Reuben, in the story invites Austin and two of his friends into his wagon to trade buttons. During that event, they find out about Reuben's button collection and its significance.
Reuben's button collection. Okay. So so that's the significance of the buttons to the story. And Maddie, is there a special quote or something that was in the story, or can you tell me about that?
One quote that Reuben said when the three boys were in his wagon was, "This big world is peopled with an amazing assortment of characters. You can just see for yourself how each of those buttons stand out so unique. And it's the same with people. They're like so many different gemstones, precious and shining in different ways and colors."
So the buttons are all different, like we're all different.
Yes. And they all have their unique features that makes them
special.
I
like it. I like it. So I heard you had a special guest come. Is that correct, to talk about buttons? Brady, who was that?
Our special guest that came to talk to us about the buttons was Mrs. Pryor, a retired teacher from Quarry Hill.
Oh. And did she have a collection, or what did she?
Yes, she came with around five button books that explain to us the different sizes and colors of buttons. And she also had a few little containers filled with them.
And so what did you do with those buttons that she brought?
Well, she taught us about some of the ones she had, but she also put out a few bins of different kinds of buttons. Like, they had like different pictures or were made out of different things, and we each got to pick out one.
So they had pictures on the buttons?
Well, they didn't all have pictures. Some had just designs or like a certain color, and we got to pick out one and write about it.
So were there old buttons? Were there new buttons? Were there all kinds of different buttons?
Yeah, there was actually a couple. She had a couple that were like made out of bone. And I think she had one that was made out of like a coconut shell.
So you had to pick one, Ms. They had to pick one that spoke to them?
Yes.
So can you just, so that's what you said to them? Just which one speaks to you?
Speaks to you.
Exactly. Okay. And so you're going to share with us the buttons that spoke to you? Okay, great. All right. So, Maddie, how did you decide on your button?
Well, at the time when we were deciding, I already picked my setting, which was in Puerto Rico, and I picked the setting because my grandfather had recently just gotten back from the Bahamas. And it's kind of around the same area. And I was looking for some sort of button that represented the ocean, because the ocean in Puerto Rico is big and beautiful.
Right.
And it's the reason that a lot of people go.
Right, it's very blue, right? Is it very clear? Yes.
And I found one, it's right here, and it is like, it has like waves.
Oh, can we see that? I don't know if we can see, can we zoom in on that? Can you hold it up so we can see it? So it's kind of wavy and blue, like the
ocean.
Perfect. So when you saw that, you must have said, "Oh,
yep,
that's the one for me."
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Brady? Which one did you choose?
I chose a bronze navy.
Oh,
button.
that's much different than Maddie's. And why did you choose that one?
Well, I like military and.
Let me think. Oh, so it's a bronze. Oh, it's an Old Navy button, maybe. Yes. Oh, so you chose that one, and your story is about a sailor.
Yes.
Okay. And Margaret, which one did you choose?
Well, I chose a button with a picture of a squirrel on it.
Oh.
Because a squirrel is one of my favorite animals.
Really?
And I had already picked a setting which was like in a Native American village, and they have high beliefs in spirits, and their spirits are usually animals. So I chose that because it would go along with the setting of my story.
Awesome. So, Mrs. Ellis, how did they decide? They said they all kind of knew the setting beforehand. How did they decide? They just kind of had their own choice?
Basically, it was their inspiration, whatever they decided. And some children actually went the opposite, where they chose a button that spoke to them and then created their story based off of that button. That sounds like...
That's what you did, Brady?
That's what Brady did. And the others already had a story in mind and then found the button that would match that story.
So that was perfect. They had two perfect buttons for you ladies. Excellent. So would anybody like to share just kind of give us a little summary of their story to our audience at home?
Well, mine is basically about Reuben, and he's the character who has the big button coat. And
oh, right.
Yes. And he is in Puerto Rico, and he meets this amazing, wonderful family and they're the Connells. And they are very nice to him, and eventually he becomes really good friends with the Connells, and they trade a button with him eventually. And to trade a button with Reuben is so important to him because he's made just a new friendship that's very important.
So all those buttons represent friends?
Yes, that he's made around the world because he travels the world and makes friends.
Awesome, that's great.
Well,
Margaret, you want to?
My story is about Reuben as well. He's traveling and he comes upon a Native American camp, and the Native Americans he meets give him a button, and Reuben accidentally he loses the button, and so the family gets mad, and he tries to escape, but they find him, and so he makes another button out of an acorn cap and trades it to them to get it back, but the family ends up liking the one he makes better. And so he keeps it, and then he keeps traveling.
So that was all your idea about making the acorn button? And
yeah,
that's very creative.
A long time ago, they had made buttons out of like walnut shells, and so they made it out of all kinds of different things. So
that was a great idea. Thank you. And Brady, what about you? You have a sailor story?
My button, my story is about Reuben when he's younger, and he is joining the Navy with his father. And
together they're joining.
And they, the first night that he was on the ship, they had a battle between another ship, and his father was shot by one of the enemies.
Wow.
And he died, so at his father's funeral, his father's best friend had a button from the last uniform his father wore.
Oh my goodness, these stories are amazing. Yes. And he cuts it off and gives it to him?
It was in a little wooden and leather box.
That's an awesome idea that you thought to have that remembrance of his dad. Excellent. Very impressed with your stories. You must be very proud, ladies, of these students.
Very much so. Very much so. They were the first group I thought of. So.
Yes. So the theme of this story, what are some themes of this story, if you had to say in one word?
Well, the characters were very, courageous to take on the Oregon Trail.
Sure, right.
Because there would be many setbacks along the way. It was common for people to die because they could have fallen in front of the wagon wheel,
right.
or they could have run out of food, or could have gotten shot by Native Americans.
Right.
And so they must have been very brave to actually travel down the trail, because all those things could have happened to them,
right.
but they chose to go there for some reason, just to have a better life.
Right. Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me and telling me all about your wonderful book and your wonderful writing and your buttons. And thank you so much. And I want to also thank all of my guests today for joining me for Clarke's Corner. And I encourage everyone out there watching to join me next month when we will feature another great Monson school. Thank you.